Hey everyone, Charles here, and welcome to the home stretch of Diddy's trial. Day 25, I say the home stretch because for the prosecution it is a home stretch. They are about to wrap up their case, and then the defense will get to make their case. But today it was a little strange. What we were really expecting today was Brendan Paul, the former assistant to Diddy. He's the guy who was arrested during the raids in Miami. They pulled him off Diddy's private jet. Well, he was supposed to testify and did come into court at the beginning of the day, pled the fifth, and then took an immunity deal. He never got on the stand, though, today because things really got bogged down with two things. A special agent who testified about a lot of things that may seem really boring, but are really, really important to the case. And freak-off videos, lots of freak-off videos. So we're gonna go through all of that, and then you gotta stick around for this, because you talk about how the other half lives. Obviously we know Diddy's a mogul, but how would you imagine that he could possibly run up $1 million, nearly $1 million on his Amex bill in 1 month? We're gonna show you. All right, so after Brendan Paul takes his immunity deal this morning, he is let out of the courtroom. We actually hear Diddy speak in court, to which he doesn't normally. He's usually sitting there pretty quietly, but he did answer the judge, had to say, "Yes, Your Honor," when asked to confirm if he was waiving his right to be present while Brendan Paul got his immunity deal. So Diddy was in back, and this is a sort of preview of what was to come. He was in a holding cell actually watching the videos that were going to be shown to the jurors later that day. These are the freak-off videos. So it's almost like he got a chance to review things that were edited that were going to be played for the jurors. So then this special agent comes in, Delisa Penland, and she is testifying to the details of a lot of these freak-offs and the setup for these freak-offs and the expense of these freak-offs. Now, a lot of this is going to sound like bookkeeping. I'm not going to go through all of the numbers and everything that she testified about. You can imagine this was a lot about the travel for all of the different male escorts, travel for Jules, travel for Clayton Howard, who's also been called Dave during some of these freak-offs. And she's going through all of these details for two reasons. One, this goes to the Mann Act. This is the transportation for purposes of prostitution. And I don't know how you can't say the government has Diddy dead to rights on this particular count, because she went through the cost of flights, what airlines they flew on, what hotels they stayed in, the cost of the hotels. And it is outrageous, some of these numbers. But all that goes to the fact that he absolutely, Diddy, was transporting these people for purpose of prostitution. When the defense starts, we know that one of the things that they had said going into this was that they wanted to put this Mann Act on trial. The fact that just because he flew these guys to these parties, to the freak-offs, they're adults, they're consenting, and Diddy's team feels like the Mann Act is an old, outdated, and racist law. So expect some of that next week when they start their case. So beyond those details, there is a lot of testimony about Cassie and text messages that Cassie sent to Diddy, especially on March 5th, 2016, the day of the hotel beating at the Intercontinental Hotel. And they run through a lot of these text messages, but really, we're not going to go through all of it, because this again goes back to, it just shows that Diddy was a horrible person to her, a horrible human being to her, a horrible boyfriend. It doesn't really go to any of the criminal counts. It does show panic on his part, though, which is interesting, and maybe shows him being concerned that he's losing control over Cassie, and maybe that's why these were brought up. But in particular, there are a bunch of texts right after she leaves the Intercontinental Hotel. And those texts are him sort of panicking, saying, "You're going to abandon me all alone." He even says to her, "I'm about to be arrested," which we know is not the case. The police did not show up there. So this is after she's left the hotel. The only thing she responded to him was to say, "I went and checked everything and spoke to security at the hotel. Jules, the entertainer, the escort who was there with him, Jules left, so you're good, and as long as you don't disturb the other guests, they'll leave you be." So she's saying, just leave me alone. This is awful that you did this to me, but she's sort of trying to put his mind at ease. I'm not going to police. And then the other thing that they showed, which there was a reaction that was in the courtroom. We're told that there were some photos showed that were very jarring for people in the courtroom to see. Photos of wounds to Cassie's eye. And they ended the day with this text that she sends to Diddy saying, "Nothing good comes from Freakoffs. You treat me like Ike Turner treated Tina Turner." And that was when they rested for the day. So pretty powerful ending for the prosecution, certainly, to get that text message in there and Cassie's message. Now, this $1 million Amex bill, because this is crazy. On one particular month, just some of the things that went into that bill. A flight from JFK to LA for one of the entertainers, a stay at the Four Seasons in LA, and there's a travel invoice. This is important because it also goes to Rico. Travel invoice for Bad Boy Entertainment, and a $500 charge for damages to drapes at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And actually, one of his employees was billed for that, and then they paid him back. So is an executive assistant who worked for him for 2 years. $950 in linen damages that needed deep cleaning. A $46,000 damage charge. $46,000 in damages at a penthouse suite at the Intercontinental in New York City, in Times Square. All of that, and a lot more, obviously, went into this total of $944,059 balance for 1 month on his Amex bill. And again, what's really important here, because the one thing you keep hearing people say about this trial is that they don't have RICO. Where is the RICO? Where is this criminal organization that he is running? And all going through all these bills, they're connecting them to Bad Boy Entertainment. And their point is, yes, he had this legitimate company, but behind the scenes, he was using it and using its resources and its employees to pull off criminal activities like these freak-offs. So winner, loser today, I will say, it seems, at least for what we can see, the prosecution won big today. They scored with this special agent going through all these details. They got closer to RICO, they got Mann Act, and the sex trafficking is all about his control over Jane and Cassie, and they got a little bit of that also. The one wild card here is that when they played the freak-off videos, there were more freak-off videos played today after yesterday where they only saw about 2 minutes. Today they saw about 15 minutes worth of material from freak-off videos. The problem is, and the reason I say it's a wild card is, we can't see any of that. Those videos were only shown to the jurors. They had headphones on once again. They addressed the fact that some of the audio was bleeding out and that people in the courtroom could hear that, took care of that. But the jurors got to see those videos. We didn't see them, and we don't know what's on it, so I can't really judge what the jury is walking away with, what they're thinking about seeing those videos today. Certainly they were shown during cross-examination. So whatever was edited, the defense feels that it supports their case, which is that Cassie was there and Jane was there in full consent. They wanted to be there, and this was not a case of coercion. That's what we'd expect, but again, we couldn't see those videos. So I can't tell, but from what we do know of testimony, this was a big win today for the prosecution. We will see what happens tomorrow when Brendan Paul finally gets on the stand.